Hey peeps, we're back after missing this morning because of another obligation. We're back for this afternoon stream. So this is Unhindered by Coding. I'm Nick McPhee. We will be here for the next 2 hours working on Rust in a client-server context. So I'm actually in the Saturday afternoon sessions looking at how we might use Rust to in some of our labs for our systems core course, which are now currently mostly in C or Java. So we're going to see if maybe there's ways we can redo some of those in Rust. And so I'm basically going through and exploring some of those labs to figure out what some of our options are. And so we're currently working on an Echo client server. So an Echo server receives, well, hello, Agatha. Wonderful to see you. An Echo server receives information over a socket, TCP socket, and it just reflects that information back. And we have an implementation in Rust that works fine. But well, hello, Asitsu. Wonderful to see you as well. We have an implementation of the server. We haven't actually done the client. At some point, I think I convinced myself that we had done both the server and the client, but we actually haven't touched the client. So at the moment, we have the server implemented, but we haven't done anything with the client. Last week, we started using the error stack crate as a tool for managing the errors, because there are a lot of different potential errors when you're connecting to the socket, you're parsing information in and out of the socket, and the initial implementation just called unwrap everywhere and basically hope for the best. And so starting last week, we started using error stack as an alternative. So we're going to continue through that. I think we're pretty close to having the server side done on that front. And then we'll have to implement the client side, which will be pretty straightforward. But then I might complicate things by doing something with threads that's kind of fun. But I don't know. We'll see how that turns out. So that's what we're up to. Let's see. Here's the code. So at the moment, we set up the socket as hard-coded using something like clap to do that on the command line. At least specify the port would be kind of nice. Might do that at some point. We parse the server address, and that can return an error. And so we're using the error stack crate. So that returns a result that's either a socket adder or a report. And we've changed the context to be a server error. So this actually comes back as parse error, comes back as an adder parse error, which is just the kind of error that parse returns on a socket adder if you hand it something that it doesn't know how to deal with. And then, so that returns it into a server error, which is going to be our generic top level error using error stack. So error stack allows you to have a variety of different errors, and you can change context as you move up and down the chain. So we get a adder parse error, and we attach this report to it that includes information about what we couldn't parse. And then we change the context down here to be a server error. So what main returns is this kind of generic server error, but that wraps the more specific errors so that we have those. Then we have, we bind to the address that returns an IO error. We change that context to be a server error. So these two things both return a server error. Then we got this, and I still kind of feel like This currently just returns an IO error. If we go back to bind to address, it returns an IO error if something doesn't work. Kind of feel like it would be the right thing to do to have that return some kind of bind error, but then I have to create all of this stuff for bind error, and I don't really want to do that, so I've kind of got mixed feelings about that. But I feel like sort of for readability, it would probably be better to have it be a bind error. I'm going to let that slide for now. And then we accept the connection. That also potentially returns an IO error. We change the context to a server error. And so we're down to this part, which is where echo stream actually handles the echoing. So echo stream gets the socket, and it and this ought to be some kind of logging. So that's another thing that we might work on today if we get through the error handling side of things. Is I've never done logging in Rust, and I would like to do that. And so we right now just have some print statements, which is clearly not great. So we've got a buffer. We read into that buffer. We await, because that's an asynchronous operation. This is using Tokyo's TCP stream, so all this stuff is asynchronous. And here we just throw the error back, which is going to be an IO error again. So IO result around a unit type is the type is unit, so it won't return anything if it's successful, and that's the return OK unit down here, or it will return an IO error. And that's what socket read can return. If that succeeded, then we check to see how many bytes we've got. If we don't have any, then we're done. So that means the socket's ended. And so that again should be some kind of logging. And then we return OK so that we're done processing that stream. Otherwise, we write these bytes, and we have to make sure we include the num bytes read here, or we'll write the entire buffer, and that would be bad. So we'll write all that to the socket, wait because it's asynchronous, and the question mark is because write all can return an error. And so we want to take these. Do we want to take these question marks? I've been thinking that we'd want to take these question marks and turn them into reports. Yeah, we probably do, because we want to, right now, so the two places we can fail are in reading from the socket and writing to the socket. And if we just leave them as IO errors, I presume that the error will contain some information about whether we were reading or writing, but we could also add that as contextual information here in error stack and change the context to indicate that the error happened when we were in the echo stream function. Not sure. Well, let's do we could yeah, let's just in part to force myself to deal with another error type, let's actually create another error type which we will return from that. So this is the generic server error, but we'll also have derive debug struct socket communication error, and we'll impl thumped display for socket communication error fn thumped self reference thumped mutable reference thumped formatter bump beep boom thumped result, and we'll thumped dot write stir there was an error while communicating on the socket or on a socket. Can't spell. Okay, that's that. An impl error for socket communication error. Boom, bop. Oops, can't spell again. Impl without an E. Why are we grumpy? Oh, I needed the curly braces and not the semicolon. Okay. Now down here, I want to get rid, so let's bring this out this way so it's going to be a little easier to track what's going on, and we'll change context to be a socket communication error, and that will be what we'll return, which means this is going to have to become a result that's either nothing or a socket communication error. Boom. And then I need a dot. That'll work a lot better down there. And I probably want, so what is this fussing about? No method named. Oh, I need to change it to a report before I can do that. So I need to, yeah, dot report. And then I can also attach things. So I need dot report. That makes that problem better. Do we want to attach something? Yep, thank you. You're faster than me. Do we want to attach something? Do we have something that would be useful to attach? Is there something we can say here? I guess we could include the socket information. So it's attach printable format bang. Here, I'm going to grab all this. Oh, and actually, I've been using attach printable lazy. There are actually a lot of attach options, and I don't know if I needed to be using, for example, if I just did attach. Oh no, I think I could attach kind of anything. If I did attach printable without the lazy, what is that? Yeah, that's just another version of this. It's not obvious to me why I want does attach not, so if it's not printable, maybe it won't print things out the way that we would like. Let's look at attachment kind. So it can either be opaque or printable. And opaque probably isn't terribly helpful. Where is attach? Printable, probably going to be defined in report. Attachments can be used using attach. So attach behaves like attach printable, but will not be shown when printing the report. To benefit from seeing attachments in normal error reports, you want attach printable. Okay. So we definitely would want attach printable, and then attach printable lazy. Is that in here? Attach printable lazy. Seems to basically do the same thing, but you get to avoid actually building the message unless it's necessary. So I think that's what they kind of recommend. Yeah, so like you said, Mugafa, I think it's, if we use lazy, we avoid actually doing the work unless it's needed. So we don't run the closure unless we need to report that. So attach printable lazy seems to be a reasonable thing to be doing. And then it was a format. Okay, steal that because I'm just a lazy person. So let's see. We want to say failed to read from socket. Boom. Is that a semicolon? No, maybe not. No. And we don't have socket. Oh, that's because socket doesn't have pretty print. And I wonder if there's going to be an ownership issue here. Are we giving away socket? No? Okay. It's happy. Oh, because we probably never use socket after that. So we don't, it doesn't come up. Yeah. So we won't pay the price of doing this function call unless we have to, unless there's an error. Yeah, I think I looked at this, and printing a socket actually prints like all the information about a socket, which it wasn't that much. It didn't print like vast oceans of stuff. I'm curious now. Read, lots of reads. Because I felt like maybe there was a status thing, but I don't see that here. I'm going to actually try printing the whole socket for now, and we'll see if that does something untoward. But I have this memory, it wasn't that much information, but there was maybe a little more than just the address. It also, the address is, when you print the socket out, you get the address as two separate components. You get the IP address and the port number as two separate pieces when it prints that out, and that was kind of nice. And if we cared, we could make this fancier, but for now I think it'll be a thing. One thing that using error stack definitely seems to encourage is you end up with these long things when something could go wrong, which up above I dealt with by actually creating these new functions to sort of wrap this stuff. Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah, if I did the attaching here, I can't separate a read error from a write error. By the time it's come up here, I don't know which one it is. But I would only have one attached: report business, change context. I did think about that, but I think for the moment I want to distinguish between a read fail and a write fail. So I'm going to go ahead and do this the sort of, long-winded way and have this business happen twice, basically. So we're going to have write all and await. Yeah, so that was my intention, was to distinguish between them in at least the attachment. I wasn't going to distinguish in the kind of error, but I was going to distinguish in the attachment. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I was kind of thinking. Oops, why don't I just grab all of this, and fail to write to socket. So all kinds of good suggestions here. So Izitsu's comment, because I could have multiple attachments, I could have the message about the socket be attached up here and just have the failed to read or failed to write is all that has to happen down here. And Wagafa, yeah, we kind of wandered into enums when we started doing this last week, whenever we started doing error stack. And I think Izitsu's right. It seems like the idea is to not use enums, but instead have separate structs, which does lead to a lot of this business. You appear to get repetitions of, this section of code, but oh, hang on. This really I got this in the wrong place. This should have been up one. Should have been here. Okay, so you get these repeated blocks of error code for every error, and that's so when you say different types, are you suggesting that so I get the scope, right? And so that I was kind of thinking that echo stream is a different scope than main, which is part of why I was thinking that it made sense to have a different error type there. But you think that using an enum to distinguish between, so there could be two kinds of socket communication error, a read error and a write error variant of that, and that returning the variant would be reasonable as a way of indicating which kind of error there was. And then if we did that, we could do Isitsu's idea and move the socket information here and capture the read versus write in just which variant of socket communication error we return here. So we would only need to report and change context, but we could skip the attach here. And we would change context to the particular subtype that we had. And then, so actually if I come back here, so here's the example on their GitHub page for this. And so they have a parse experiment error, and they have an experiment error as two different contexts. So maybe an enum does make sense. I mean, they don't do it here, but they don't need to. But since we have two types at the same, so at this level, there are two ways this could fail. And so an enum might make sense that the different types are meant to represent the different levels or scopes. And then you could use, within a scope, you could use enums to simplify the kinds of errors that might happen. And so, in fact, we could imagine having a socket connection error that could handle the parsing, the binding, and the accepting of connections, that would be up at this level of we're trying to connect, and then the socket communication error, like we've connected, now we're trying to talk and something bad happened, and then those could both then turn into server errors as the sort of top level thing that we let out. And that would solve my bind to address problem. Well, let's try it down here. Let's do it. Why not? Sounds like fun. So that would mean that this, instead of a struct, is now an enum, and it's going to be, it's going to have a write option and a, well, let's say read option and a write option. And we didn't want the semicolon there. So all of the rest of that's okay. And now when we come down here, some stuff's going to be broken. So this is going to want to become, and actually this would read better as socket communication read error. That would be but actually, I kind of, having error on this name probably makes sense. Let's do that. And then this is going to be right. And then we want to tidy up the attachment business by moving that up here. Boom. So we'll get rid of this expect, which was never a good idea anyway. And now we're going to turn this into a, oh no, this should already be a report. Yeah. I think this is already a report. So I think we could attach printable lazy. Oops, I forgot the semicolon. which I don't strictly need, but oh, stop it. Format, bang, failure when communicating with socket, boom. And then we want to change the context here to be, whoa, undo. What happened there? How did I end up there? To change context, server error, question mark, semicolon, boom. Oops, bad things. What happened? So many things. That is, the trait bound is not satisfied. The trait is not implemented for the unit type. Oh, what am I? Okay. So this is a result report. Oh, so the question mark doesn't work because we're in spawn. But there was a question mark there before. Was there? No, there was expect there before. Oh. Yeah, so if I, so let's just, to convince myself that, well, I will just say unwrap. If I, okay. No, actually there's still an issue here. We're borrowing socket. And echo stream took the socket, so we don't have access to it anymore. Yeah. So if we use the adder, we'd have a reference, the server address. We won't have access to the socket. Does an echo stream needs, does it need to own the socket? Can it take a reference to the socket? I don't know why it needs to own the socket. Can it take immutable reference? It does not like that. Expected TCP stream. Oh, this would need to be, it's the, did I have the type in the wrong place? Oh, I've completely made a mess of things. Oh, I don't think it's going to like this. So I think you're right. Maybe trying to save the socket here is just not the right idea. So maybe I just put the address in. Now, I feel like I'm going to have a, well, that's, I don't know, let's add server address. And then I don't need that business. Okay. So now everything compiles at address, everything compiles with the unwrap, and if I take the unwrap off, then everything blows up. Yes. So it all gets sad, so that, because we can't propagate the error out of the future, because it wouldn't know where to possibly send that to. So how do we, I feel like I've seen something where futures can return errors, though. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking, that there, if you join so spawn returns a join handle. Yeah. We definitely don't want a single error to end the whole program. We would just want to end that thread. And if we put a join like right after this, then it would totally break our parallelism, because that would block here until this was done processing, and we'd lose any concurrency that we might have sort of generated. So that clearly isn't great. We could, yeah, maybe that really the thing to do here is the log at this point. And not continue to wrestle with this. And then I wonder if, let's say unwrap for now. It almost makes, having gone through the whole business with error stack, kind of less awesome, because the point had been, in some sense, to avoid, well, the point had been to sort of collect all this good logging error information, and I guess the question is going to be, can we get that to come out in logging? And if we can't, then that's going to be annoying. But maybe because we've been doing printable attachments, we can log all the attachments, and that'll be okay? I don't know. Well, we'll have to find out. Okay, so let's see. This compiles. Does it work? Let us contemplate that interesting question. So now, if we, I want to start the server, echo server, and target, actually cargo build would be, let's make sure we've got an executable built. Target debug. Oops, no, I don't want that cache to your thing. Debug And echo server, I think, is going to be our program. So I think we can run that. So that's running. Now, if I do nc, let's simplify this for starters. Whoa, go away, all that stuff. And let's pull you down so we can see both of these guys at once. If I netcat, we've made a connection, so that's awesome. And we can type some stuff. Hello. And it got echoed back. This is more stuff. And boom, blah, 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 boom. And Control D, we get that we finished handling. Oh, and I think this is what I was getting when I printed the socket, the TCP stream. Is I got the, oh, actually, I got the whole address as one thing. So really printing just the address makes sense because the file descriptor is the only additional piece of information, and that really isn't super useful. I don't know how I would use the file descriptor in trying to debug something. Okay, so it does appear to work. Happy about that. Let's commit the changes we've made, and then let's get into some logging fun. Oh, actually, I wanted to see, before I do that, can we force an error here? And I had an idea. If there was a long enough sleep, I guess this has been dealt with. If there's a long enough sleep between reading and writing, you could possibly kill the connection before you, after you read, but before you've written, and that would presumably lead to some sort of error in write all, because it would try to write to a socket that had closed. So I feel like that actually might be doable if I sort of temporarily hack in a sleep kind of thing here. We might be able to see that it actually gets a write error. Now, rust sleep. I have no idea how to do that. Sleep in standard thread. Okay, puts the current thread to sleep for the specified amount of time. Well, that sounds very exciting. So, thread, ; sleep, and a duration. Okay. So if I say thread sleep, did that pull the right? Import that thread. Standard thread. Yeah. And there's standard thread. Okay. So it took care of that. And then sleep needs a duration. Which we can just steal this. It helps if it's let. And we want, let's sleep 1 second. Because that, actually let's sleep 5 seconds. So I assume there's a from second. And then this would be 5 seconds. And duration needs to be imported. And is it from seconds? No. Come on. What are my options here? Duration from sex. Okay. Boom. And so now I've got 5 seconds to kill netcat, which will close the socket, and when it tries to write back out, that should fail. So fingers crossed that will work. Cargo builds, make sure everybody's up to date. Okay. And now netcat. Hello. Whoa. Oh yeah, right, because there should be a 5-second delay. And I got an answer back. The delay seemed to work. Wait. And we get an answer back. I'll kill it this time. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Oh, weird. Oh, not weird. We're not going to see it because it's in the future, so it didn't get returned back to here, and we would need the logging. So just as a quick hack before we actually get to the logging, we could I wonder if we could print something here and if it would show up. Failure. But we're not going to see the read versus the write. Okay, we really need to do the logging, or this whole sleep thing won't make any sense. So I'm going to get rid of that. Well, actually, I'll leave it there for now. Let's commit what we've got, and then actually, so get the error and debug it instead of like get the error like through a match or something, because this is yeah, that you're probably right about that. Let's actually do that. Tokyo sleep. I hadn't thought about the fact that could not find sleep. Well, maybe that's Tokyo sleep doesn't exist. Tokyo sleep in Tokyo time. Okay. So Tokyo time sleep duration. Wow. So I won't have core time. Tokyo time sleep duration. And now Tokyo it's just sleep because there we go, because I brought it in that way. And then this would be just duration, I think, because of what we did up above. Yeah. Okay. Could not find time in Tokyo. Hello? So it doesn't like this. Why grumpy? Oh, oh, available on crate feature time only, and I don't have that probably in the cargo. Yep. Cargo at Tokyo minus F time. Doodly doodly doo, doodly doodly doo. And now it's probably going to have to download some stuff and build some new things. Oh my. If it's downloading this much, it's going to compile a whole lot of code. Heavens to Betsy, adding that dependency was quite the adventure. Now, oh, okay, that wasn't that bad. Oh, but when we next build it, it will actually have to build all that stuff. Okay. Well, foo. And so let's try. Okay, so that's happy. Let's try your idea of the debug. So we print something. So you're saying let error equals echo stream and you without the unwrap. Yeah, okay. So we get rid of that, and then we would call debug bang and now that does compile. Oh, so it's fussily here because this returns a sleep and thing, and oh, await. If we don't await it, that's probably not going to be good. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's better. Okay. And then we've got an unused import up here. Okay. Now everything compiles. Cargo build. And run and run. Hello. Confirm that we get our 5-second delay. Do 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 do. That looked good. I'll break this one. Boom, boom, boom. Now, what's going to happen? Hey, hey! We got an okay. We got an okay. We should... I would not have thought we would have gotten an okay there. That's surprising. Let's actually do one where we don't break in the middle. And we got the same okay. Huh. I don't know. I mean, we probably don't want to get too deep in the weeds here, because write all... Yeah, but you'd think that would still fail. It attempted to write to the socket. It attempts to write the entire buffer into the writer. It will call write until there is no more data to be written. It will not return until the entire buffer has been successfully written or such an error occurs. The first error generated will be returned. So I would have thought that attempting to write should print for every message you send. Maybe it isn't being output until the thread ends. Not sure I understand, to be honest with you. Because it will only, this printing will only happen after echo stream returns. And echo stream, because of this loop, will just go back and forth until the client closes the socket. So this would go forever until the client closes the socket. And if the client closes the socket gracefully, this should be true. We should get done handling the stream and we should return okay. I was expecting that by closing the client after this sleep happens, that this write all would fail because this socket would no longer be open. But that didn't seem to be what happened. And I'm not sure what that means. Certainly seems odd that we didn't get some kind of error. I would have thought that would have borked. I wonder, so now it's not obvious to me, like, if what's happening is about error stack or about something else. So one thing we could do is we could just, yeah, oh, so we could, that's an interesting idea. We could print line done sleeping, about to read, and I was thinking, what if we commented all that out and had like just a dot expect fail to read and that works, compiles, and we'll know for sure that it's not somehow error stack interfering there. Oops, no, I wanted to rebuild just to be paranoid. Yeah, no. Hello. So we should have the 5-second delay. It is not considered an error if the entire buffer could not be written. Oh. Well, this is what happens when you read the documentation, apparently. Goodbye. So we got the done sleeping, about to read. So it slept again. We got done sleeping, about to read. So yeah, I think you're right. I think that isn't an error. So then I guess I'm not sure how to create that error. Like we put all this work in to make these all this fancy error reporting, but I have no way of forcing either of these errors to occur. And thank you, Agafa, for finding that in the documentation. I had thought that was something that was going to work. yeah, a return value of 0. So that's what we're using here. Oh, but does write all return how many bytes? Oh, it does return a write all thing. Interesting. And I don't actually look at that. So if that's 0, we could also end without trying to do the read. Don't know if that makes a big difference, to be honest with you, but it could be a way to end a little earlier. But it does mean that it didn't end the way I thought it was going to. Oh well, let's not worry about it. Let's try some logging. Let's see if we can log in a useful way here, and especially if we can do some logging that handles errors up here in some kind of useful sense. So, okay. So I do want to commit though. Oh, and I want to take this sleep thing out because that's just never going to work. And that also means there's going to be a whole bunch of unused imports. Why is it? Oh, it's grumpy. Well, minorly grumpy because we didn't need the braces. Okay, let's commit. Oh. We don't really use time anymore. And if am I ever going to need it? I don't think I am. So in fact, I'm going to discard that hunk. And let's make sure that that didn't break things. Yeah, stuff still builds. Okay. So we added the new socket communication error. That's really the main thing that happened here. Add new socket communication error type enum. Adds an enum that captures both read and write. Write errors to from the socket. Oh, I've still got these attaches. I don't want those anymore because that was part of the point of moving the attach up here, is that I don't need the attaches down here. And I need the report line. Yeah, because without it, this is just a generic error instead of a report error. So I need the report lines. And then here I attach the error and change the context to server error. Okay. So that I think is good. Bring these changes down. Yes, that's better. I'm gonna note that I tried to break the write all call by terminating the client between a read and a write with a sleep in between. But that didn't, in fact, generate an error as noted by Wagafa on Twitch. It is not
not considered an error if the entire buffer could not be written to this writer.
Okay. Commit that. Now let's do some logging. Logging will be fun. I've never done that either. All the new things. Okay. So, I know enough to know that I'm going to need to bring in some kind of specific logging system, and envlogger seems to be the kind of standard simple one. Let's see if we come back to here. So crates.io, crates log. That's the basic deal, and then we have some minimal, well, some various loggers. And I think it was Izitsu said you used Fern, and I looked at that briefly, and that looked complicated, more complicated than I needed here. So I don't know. Does anybody like have a strong preference? I think I was just leaning to do envlogger, or pretty envlogger has a nice name. But I don't know what the difference would be. So I think my inclination would be to just try doing envlogger and see how that goes. Now we're going to need to add log and envlogger to make that work, right? Yeah, actually I found lib.rs and I liked it. Logging, I wonder if there's even just a section. You'd think maybe, well actually what if I search instead of, oh, debugging. Well, let's just search for logging. Logging timer. I don't think we want that. Rust logging, log4rs, simple log. So they have simple log and envlogger at about the same level for whatever that is worth. So it was simple log, yeah. Simple log. Do I think I care? So basic logger that logs standard out, term logger, has color support, write logger, writes to a file, combine logger, test logger, and so this just writes to standard error. And I don't really, at the moment, I don't need anything. Like, if you really cared, you'd want something that would write to files and rotate log files at regular intervals and all that kind of stuff. I don't think I care about any of that here. I'm not trying to build a industrial strength echo server. So I think I'm just going to go with envlogger. It doesn't look very complicated, and it ought to sort of do what I need. So I think we'll just try that. So I want to kill you. Cargo add log and envlogger. Adding log. There's a whole bunch of features we did not do. An envlogger, which has all of this stuff. Okay. So then, well, I guess it would help if I knew what needed to happen. So I'm going to have to bring in a bunch of stuff. initialize the logger, and then I can call things like debug and error, and stuff will get printed out. Okay, that looks like a thing I could probably do. Okay, so actually, let me just grab this top one. We want to use log where I want. I feel like there ought to be. Let's put it here. Okay, so we're just not using any of those. That's fine. We'll come back to using them. So envlogger init, that's going to have to happen presumably in main. Envlogger init, and then we want where I have, so right here actually this would be an info level. So what do we have? We have info trace warn and error. So that's probably an info or a trace. What's the difference between info and trace? That's a great question. Docs. Info. Well, that doesn't tell me anything. Trace. Arg. Anybody have any great thoughts on info versus trace? Logging info versus trace. Only when I be tracing the code and trying to find one part. So I think info sounds like the thing. So we'll say info, oops, stop, go away. Info, boom. Okay. And print line. And then this would be an info as well. Into info. And no other print lines. So let's confirm that that works. So cargo build, doodly doodly doo, gotta build the other dependencies. Gotta build all the stuff. And then start you up and start you up, and we get nothing because, oh, we still have that. We'll come back to that. Let's see, what is that? Come on, grab this. So, no, stop over here. Okay. Yeah, so I think info was probably the right thing to do there. And we didn't get any output because we didn't have info turned on. So env uses, so let's close view since I'm not doing that. We're using environment variables to specify what we want, so we ought to be able to do that. Except I think in fish that is not going to work. Because I wanted. I think that doesn't. Oh, maybe it does work in fish. Aha! Handling a stream. Done handling stream. So we got simple logging, and that worked. So that's nifty. Now we want to handle this error by logging it as an error. So we want log error, so error bang here instead of debug bang. Error bang. And it doesn't like that because it has to be a format string. Yeah, so res and yeah, so we should do a if let. Thank you. Yes, so good. If let err equals res, then something like that. And now we still need a string literal. When we get, so this is a report. So ERR is type report. What can we do with ERR? Why do you not want to give me? Yeah, I was just trying to figure out what. I guess maybe this maybe will now let me. Okay. So I can, what's the current context? So that gets me what the context is. What is contain? Oops, I didn't want to like hit the button there. Contains, well, okay, maybe I'm going to do that. Returns if type T is anyway, we don't want that. Contains frames. What is frames? Iterator over the frame stack of the report. Maybe useful? Don't know. Can we into... Maybe we just two-string the thing. Or there's a fumpt. Let's try just two-stringing it. See what happens. Two-string. And now that's probably needs to be... Oh, because I never did something with it here. So you think that... So maybe I just do and lose all this like that? Oh, maybe. So it'll call the display implementation on that error. And hopefully, okay. Trick is, how are we ever going to know if this works? Because none of this stuff fails. Well, I guess we can just force it to fail to make sure that we get something. But let's try doing that. Let's actually deliberately force. Maybe instead of returning OK here, let's return an error for fun. Socket communication error. Well, I'll just pick one. Read. Now that's not going to be interesting because it's not going to have stuff in it. Oh, I would need a report. I don't have a report. So I have to actually create a new report here if I want that, which I can do. I've seen documentation for, okay, we need to close some things here. We got a lot of stuff going on. What are you? Aerostack. Are you what I want? Yeah. Here, I can make just a new report. On the fly. And so I think I could fake out a report here by putting flu. And then this is going to be socket communication error. Let's say read. And we don't, oh, we could attach something to it. Why not? And maybe I don't need the then. Maybe I'm just returning this report. And this has got to change. Fake error when ending communication. And this is grumpy because we probably have to import it, which I don't really want in the grand scheme of things, but whoa, didn't like that. So I do have to put, I think, an error around that. Boom. Haha. Communication. Spelling for the win. So now that ought to return an error, and we ought to see error things happen when we run stuff. Build. Run. Error. There was an error in the server. So that didn't tell us very much, though. So just printing the error only gave us the top level error and didn't give us the attachments and contained information, which is kind of not helpful because we really would like the other information. So we're gonna have to go through by hand and grab the attachments and format stuff. Okay, building up the reports. Yeah, but I don't want to. Depending on the function used, the report will also use the display and debug traits. Do we think we need the debug? Is that maybe why we didn't get much information? That display just gave us this, and that debug might unwind things a little more. So if that were true, how do I get, well, Rust debug trait? Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So add colon question mark and see if that will kick it into. Oops, no, I didn't want to do that. I want to rebuild. Make sure we're all running the latest and greatest of everything's. Aha! That was better. So we got, there was an error in the server at 106 caused by, there was an error while communicating on the socket at that line, failure when communicating with socket at that address, fake error when ending communication. Okay, so then we get the whole little stack thing. And it's presumably still running, so we ought to be able to start up another thing. And in fact, let's grab this so I don't have to like remember it. We ought to be able to do that and have another one going. So to be able to have two of them. Whoops. Oh, I didn't actually start you. What is going on here? There we go. So both of them are communicating with the server, and if I kill one of them, the other one's still going, and if I kill that, yeah, okay. No, it isn't really the nicest output for logging. I don't know. The problem is, well, a problem is I don't know what we would get back from yeah. I mean, at some level for logging, really all we wanted is we definitely would want this, but we're not getting anything else out of these guys. Well, we are, no, presumably if there was an error, sorry, I was in the wrong place. If there was an error reading, that error would be part of that stack. And that would be potentially useful information. Problem is I don't know what it looks like. It's just a arbitrary IO error. And I have no idea what that might look like. If we go Rust IO error. So there is this error kind, which has a whole bunch of stuff in it. Found, permission denied. So knowing the error kind could be possibly useful. So we could try to get down into the IO error and print something about the error kind and the socket. and none of the other. Well, but you probably would want whether it was a read or a write. Which means you'd have to do a match of some sort on those two variants. Well, we could try do something like log communication error and pass it the error, and then fin log communication error. We're going to take a error that's a report, server error, and it's not going to return anything, and whoa, oh, go away, and it's going to do that by default. And but what we want is we want to extract, oh, it may not have access to the socket, so we might want to pass the server address in as well, and that's going to be of type socket adder, and actually we could get away with the reference there. We don't need the whole take ownership. And oh, reference there. Okay, and then we could build. So we want to find the IO error, and the million-dollar question is, how do we get down there? So dot, are we going to have to, let's see, what does contains do for us? Returns if, oh, it's a Boolean, not helpful. Yep, we don't want that. I'm guessing frames is what we're going to have to do. And frames is an iterator. Oh, but it would end up copying it, and I don't really need it to, right? I just need a reference to be able to print it, so I don't actually need a copy of it, I don't think. So we'd have, that's an iterator, and we want to maybe filter, and they're going to be a frame, and now I have no idea what I can do with the frame. I can kind. Ooh, kind might have been interesting. What does that do? Returns how the frame was created. Actually, let's go look at some documentation here. Somewhere, that's error stack report. I should be able to, well, there's frames. Iterator of the frame stack of the report. Which is only nominally useful. A single context or attachment inside of a report. Yeah, so we've created this, like this all worked, and we could do error bang, and then pass it this error, and we printed the error out, but it didn't look very pretty. It's like this big thing. So we are creating a log communication error that's gonna try to go down inside this report and extract out the relevant bit. Yeah, so basically I'm looking for a context that I'm trying to figure out which is the T is the held context or attachment by this frame. So we could get the a context or attachment. So we have to check to see if it's a context, and if it is, then we'd have to check if it was the right kind of context. Oh, this seems like a complete hassle. Frame kind, what are my options? So it's either a context or an attachment. Okay. So I could see if it's a context of the right type, then I could extract that out. Yeah, I kind of think I agree with you that this is maybe more hassle than it's worth. We got 20 minutes. Let me, I'm going to come back here. I'll leave this alone. We'll just go back to this. And this. And then it will at least work. And we're going to remove this nonsense that was forcing the error. And now so Clippy is saying I could actually pass a reference here because I don't consume it. Okay. And it's like you really probably want a semicolon there. And then I'm not using some of this stuff up here. Let's go ahead and get rid of that stuff that we're not using. And now Clippy's happier. Let's commit. What? So let's see. Cargo toml. So we added nvlogger and log. And so here we added some simple logging. Oh, I should confirm. I'm pretty sure we've gotten rid of anything that did printing. What do we have that is, so error bang, format bang, info bang, info bang. Okay, so I think we've gotten rid of all the printy stuff, and we don't have any unwrap or expect, which actually I know because Clippy's not fussing about them because I have that turned on. Stage everybody, add logging to the server. No, let's just add, this is the only server. So adds simple logging to the server using logger. Currently the output for nvlogger builder format suffix init. I don't know. Let's go find out. Main nvlogger builder dot format suffix dot init. Oh, and then I'm gonna have to force. Oh poop. Shouldn't have removed that. I should have just commented out. Can I get it back from memory? So return report new, and this takes a something and returns, I don't remember what. That was from, oh, it's from GitHub. Not there. That was from GitHub. GitHub error stack rust. Oh, I didn't. I wanted the repository. Well, fine. Repository. So did you think it was gonna put new lines at the end of everything? Because if that's what you were hoping for, we already got lots of new lines. So I'm not sure that we want to put a lot of effort into chasing that if that's what you thought was going to happen. Maybe we unwind. Let's oops. Yeah. Okay, so I think we'll undo that. I should have probably kept that commented. Oh yeah, so I want to get rid of that too. Main here. Okay. Now. So yeah, okay. So maybe there is a thing that could be done with formatting, but it's not obvious what that would do for us. So I'm gonna ignore that for now. Currently output generated by log communication error isn't great as logging out. Whoa, too many G's. Output. For example, it's not easy to automatically parse, but we decided not to get too bogged down there for now. And I think it's probably worth noting that we needed to introduce logging in part to capture errors that happened in the futures generated by Tokyo spawn. Spelling Tokyo spawn, since we can't propagate. Can't spell propagate errors outside of threads. Okay. Doodly doodly doo. Oh, could be. The format indent thing could be possibly useful. So and actually we could test some of this stuff without having to restore the error, because we can always still, we could do it on the info stuff. So we can see what the info stuff looks like. No, because the info stuff is single line, so it's not helpful. So we do need to probably reconstruct generating an error. Let's see, it's 15 minutes before we wrap up. Do I chase that down? If we start client, we're not going to finish client today. Let's go ahead and, yeah, let's have a little fun. So let's reconstruct what we had here. ERR report new. Let's go find. So here's what I had stolen. And that goes in the, okay, so the kind of error goes here. So we'll have a socket communication error read, sure fine. Dot attach printable we forced the an error when the thread socket closed. Socket closed, and then am I missing one? No, something else is wrong. Is that right here? Oh, yeah, okay. And then we could, on the end logger, builder dot format indent format level suffix target timestamp, all manner of fun and excitement. So if we set the format level, no, the format indent to none. Wonder what that does.
La 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 la. I didn't change anything. Well, actually, it did. I think because I think all of this moved to the left, but the internal indentation didn't change. So I don't think that did anything terribly useful. Now, the earlier suggestion had been to say format suffix and actually I'm going to put suffix just so I know we can see something in case it's ends up just no, stop, just ends up being white space. Oh, so it actually put that at the end of every line, but the \n didn't change anything. I wonder if a prefix on that might actually have been useful. At least it would help with parsing. I don't think so. Well, maybe we could get it all in one line that way. Format prefix. Yeah, okay. No, it doesn't like that. No, nothing called format prefix. Well, that's interesting. Huh. That's interesting. But we could try, as you suggested, having a suffix that's an empty string and see what that did. Yeah, so that just makes it all one line. And you can see the indenting that presumably is being added by error stack that then gets kind of mangulated by putting the empty string in. I feel like what I really want is, okay, so format buff record, ooh, okay, more fun and excitement. Format buff record right line bang buff. Oops, nope, undo that. Record dot level record dot args. And why are we grumpy? No method named right foomt. Oh, I think I just need to grab, do an import, probably. Oh, what is it saying to import? Oh, stop. Use standard IO, right. is it going to break it? Oh, I probably needed all of that. Fine. No one didn't like that. Ah. Oh, is it just a typo problem on my end? Where'd that go? Args with parens. Has that been the problem all along? No, it still doesn't like. Right funct seems to need use standard IO. Oh, standard capital W right, and I was doing, yep, little w right, and it compiles. So what does it do? Great question. Cargo build. Run. Pew. Pew. So that shifted everything to the left. I think that was the same. And then just we could add a new line. So actually what I think I want though is, I think what I want, and we may have disagreements about this, there it is. I think, but this is going to apply to every logging message. And I was, yeah, we do lose. And when you lose the timestamp, that was sort of cooked in, and the name of the executable. Kind of what I really wanted was like a little prefix on each of these lines. So I think what I really want is to do some work here, because I want to treat this error differently. Like, I'm quite happy with this logging of the connections. I mean, we could argue about whether we want all this extra stuff. We probably don't. So I probably really just want the address instead of the whole socket. But that's a trivial change. But so this line I'm mostly okay with. It's this. Let's come back to one that's not quite so weird. Yeah. So it's this that it would be nice to reformat, and I think that needs to happen in this guy right here. Another piece which I just only thought about is that this still returns a possible server error, and we presumably would want to log that kind of stuff as well. We certainly would want to log this one because it's inside the loop. Maybe logging these is less critical because they would happen at, well, probably still want to log them. Maybe. I don't know. That one's less obvious to me. So you're suggesting a \n here. And then let me actually I'm going to make this disappear. Actually, let's just comment it out for now. Oh, well, that's a little better, actually. Because it does now put this on a line by itself. I feel like if one wanted to parse, it would be nice if there was some kind of prefix in front of all these lines. Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, actually, for human readability, I find this bit of indentation here to be fairly useful. And this indentation here, that's actually coming from error stack. And so I don't think we can make that go away without building our own sort of print something out logic. I think it's just going to be like that. Yeah. Yeah, it could turn it into a string and map the new line character. That's a possibility. Well, I think we probably don't want to spend any more time on this. It's 4 o'clock, so officially the session's over. And I don't know where we would go from here quickly. So I think we're going to call that a win. What's changed that I need to think about? So we added that new line. I actually like that. I'm going to keep that. This probably should go away. That should probably get commented back around. So I think we don't need this. I'm going to actually leave that like this for now in case we want to come back to the builder. And yeah, I guess that's true. We really don't need the builder if it's not doing anything. And then I'm going to actually uncomment that and comment those lines back out. And add a note. The following lines force a communication error, which might be useful for testing. So with that, we have that. I think adding that was fine. Oh, we still have this right, which we don't need now anymore. Okay, I'm going to call that a win. Minor tweaking of the error format. So I think looking at the code, I appreciate whatever mental energy you can throw my way. Wugafa, it is greatly appreciated. So I want to look at my to-dos here quick. So this we could still we could create an enum type like connection error that includes things like parsing errors and binding errors. Good luck on your big day and undecidedness. I hope that whatever it is, it works out well. Um, Big days with the decisions are always a challenge. So I think our error handling is pretty decent now. And I think we've got logging. So I think clap would be the one other thing to... oh, gotcha. And voting can be a challenge, but is important. So I appreciate the mental energy you're putting into trying to make a good, informed choice. And best of luck with that. So I think maybe clap and or building the client. So I think we are handling the error case here. Oh, we are handling the error case there. And I think that's it. So yeah, so I think clap and maybe expanding the error handling when making connections would be the two things that would be still left to do. And then we implement the client. There's an interesting potential for threading in the client. You don't have to do threading in the client. You can just like read from the keyboard, write to the socket, read from the socket, write to the screen. But it ends up locking together the reading from the screen, writing to the socket part, and the reading from the socket and writing to the, or reading from the keyboard, writing to the socket part, and the reading from the socket and writing to the screen part. And if you put those in two different threads, then they don't have to interact with each other. One just reads from the keyboard, writes to the socket in an infinite loop, and the other reads from the socket and writes to the screen in an infinite loop. But you do have to handle the closing carefully. Yeah, so actually I made them as two entirely separate projects, which in retrospect was probably not smart, because I could have done, no, yeah, I could have done two binary crates in the same project. And I had never done that before. Yeah, I was thinking you could just do two binary crates. But yeah, I have them in, so I have Echo Client and Echo Server as two separate directories in this repository. But I could do them in one thing and have the two crates. And that actually would make more sense. So that's a thing to do that we should do next week is, so actually before clap probably, bring the client and server projects into one project with two separate binary crates. I've never used workspaces, so no idea where that would take me, but the two binary crates seems like a pretty straightforward thing. And then in theory, if there was some shared code, it could be in a single library crate that the two binary crates could share. I don't know what that would look like, to be honest with you. But if something came up, and it's probably easiest just to write the client and then see what things look like. But I kind of don't think there'll be shared code, except maybe the reading from a stream, oh, sort of down here, maybe the reading from the stream and writing to a stream and the error handling around that could be shared between the two binaries. So you say you're concerned about dependencies on the two crates. I assume that the concern is that if one crate was dependent on a whole bunch of stuff, but the other crate wasn't, then the other crate kind of like drags in this other stuff. Yeah, and it is really a learning experience. Like, nobody needs an Echo server. I assure you, the world is not clamoring for, a new high-speed Rust Echo server. So maybe I should look into workspaces a little bit, and look into workspaces and see what that would look like. As an alternative to separate binary crates. So I should actually look into that and see. I'll do a little homework sometime between now and next week. And then I think we removed those things. So we can give that a look. So let's see, what are we doing? This is pretty much all update comments. This removes a bunch of to-do comments that have been resolved and adds some notes about possible changes, tasks for later. Boom. That's a terrible commit message, but we won't tell anybody. And then I think we're good. You are awesome human beings. Thank you very much for being here. I greatly appreciate your time and your feedback and your suggestions, and helping me when I don't know how to type or program in Rust. And so let's see. I should be here. I think the upcoming week is all well behaved. I don't think there are any cancellations in the upcoming week. So we should have Tuesday morning going back to the ice-repos project and trying to resolve the error that we were left with, which I frankly still don't really understand. I did some looking into it this morning before my other meeting and was mostly confused. And I'll try to say something about that on the Discord. Oh, and for folks who care, the QR code on the bottom left is an invite link to the Discord if you want to join there. And so that'll be Tuesday morning. Wednesday night, I'm going to be torturing Isitsu with late night, very late night for Isitsu programming on evolutionary computation. So we've got a genetic algorithm system that we're working on, and we got into some pretty weedy type stuff, and trying to figure out how to do pipelines of operators. That got real interesting last time, and I am definitely looking forward to returning to that. And that'll be Tuesday night, and then no, Wednesday night, sorry. So Tuesday morning ice-repos, Wednesday night evolutionary computation, and then be back a week from today in the morning to do ice-repos again, and in the afternoon to come back to Echo client servers and all of the fun that we've had there. So thank you again. It is awesome having folks here, and thanks 3.19 for following a hot second ago. And I will see you fine people later. Thanks a lot. Ciao.